Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mama Genius Hub show. Today, I have Kaylin on here, and we're going to dive into the mompreneur mindset. And she's really good with the VAs. And so we're really going to go into that mindset of how do we delegate? And I think that's going to work for any mom because whether you want to delegate to your family, your kids, or to a VA, or however you want to do it, it's one thing of how to get that stuff and let other people do it because I'm struggling with that. So, yes, let's go through our intro, and then we'll be right back with Kaylin. Welcome to the Mama Genius Hub podcast, where we support moms with big dreams from entrepreneurship to personal aspirations. I'm your host, Michelle DeKeyser, and I'm here to help you unlock your potential in all areas of life. Join us as we explore strategies for thriving in motherhood while pursuing the dreams, the key to actually unlocking your genius. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to realize your fullest potential. And so I welcome Kaelyn Marie, who is a virtual assistant, agency owner, and business coach. She's passionate about helping women create a life of their waking up to without sacrificing their values, family, or their time. Welcome, Kaelyn. We're so happy to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're just going to dive right in because that's how we were all here. So I just want to start, though, with what was your why for wanting to work with women the way you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, the lifestyle. So, of course, finances brings that, but the lifestyle of freedom, getting to choose when I work, how much I work, and then being able to close my laptop when my kids come home from school, or just like a mid-date week with my husband, like, let's go get coffee at 11 a.m. Being able to have the lifestyle where I get to choose my day to day was really important to me.
So what does your husband do? Now I'm curious.
So, it's pretty cool. He is a pickleball pro. That is his career. So he works at a club and he does clinics and he coaches people one on one. And he has pretty much made the sport his job, which is the coolest thing.
I just started playing. I've been playing in the rec league. It's a lot of
Oh,
fun.
I love it.
So you
It's
guys are
so
the pickleball family. Wow, that's so I did not see
yeah.
that one coming.
Yep.
I'm,
Yep. We're putting our
I'm so
kids
glad
into
I asked.
they love it. Yeah. Good. It's always such a good question. I love that. I feel like I should lead with that more, but people are always like, what? So yeah, great question.
Well, before we dive into a little bit more of tips and stuff, I want to get a little bit more about you though. And so what is that part that like you were struggling with that really led you down this path? We all have that intro story of what was that defining moment for you?
Yeah, so I actually was a personal assistant for someone as an employee for years, and I thought I'd be doing it more, but I realized there's just limitations when you have to work for someone, of course, right? You have to, if they want you in the office, you have to go. I was partially remote. So, but there was the tension of, well, I don't want to go into the office. What do I have to do in the office? I would be doing the same thing here, or just drop of the ball, like it was 5:30 p.m. and because I'm the assistant I still am getting contacted. And so there was that tension of, it was almost my dream life, right? I like kind of was remote. The employer was great, like I was almost there, and then I just realized there was more. I had this yearning of like, gosh, but it's not fully what I want. So it definitely gave me some flexibility, but it just wasn't the fullness. And I think sometimes we just settle for like, well, it's not bad, some people have it worse. But there was just this moment where I was like, this isn't it. And just again, the constant like calls after hours or things that would happen where I couldn't control and I couldn't say no because they were my employer and I wasn't a business owner at that time. So it was just this moment where I realized this isn't it. This isn't fully what I want to do. And we parted ways last year, and I ended up starting my own business last year. And so now that's where I'm at. And I'm like, yeah, this is it.
Wow, that's such a quick transition. Though I love how you said the calling of it all and just finally deciding that this isn't for me. Because I feel like a lot of us hear that, but then we don't do anything about it. So you had this transition from a year ago. So what were those steps at first you took to make that transition?
So first, it was actually funny. I wrote a letter. I wrote out a whole letter of things that I wanted to present to them. Got on the phone with them. This is a funny story. You're gonna love it. Got on. They asked me to
I'm already starting to laugh.
they asked me to have a meeting. At the end of my letter, the bottom said pretty much like, I'm going to start looking for other opportunities and was going to give them a date. And they jumped on the call and they were like, so we're going to let you go. It's like, okay, that worked out. And so I didn't even have to be the one to quit. It was just a mutual, like, okay. And so From that moment, though, it was honestly terrifying because, first of all, I was supposed to quit. They weren't supposed to fire me. So that didn't happen the way I planned out. Then, I mean, they gave me a whole month, which was very generous. They're like, we'll give you a month. So in that month, I knew, okay, it's now or never. I'm either going to go back to comfort and find like a stable job with an employer, or I can make a decision to kind of go out on my own and listen to like the more that's been calling me. So I started, going online, doing all the research that we do, jumping on Instagram. I actually ended up, um, it was master resale rights. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. I know some people, it's like an online digital marketing pretty much. And I ended up being like, okay, I could do that. And I bought like a $500 course. It was this whole thing. And I knew I was doing it though. I was proving to myself that, okay, I can do this, but it wasn't really working. Then I saw a girl on Instagram talking about being a virtual assistant, making 6 figures a year. And because I was a personal assistant, I was like, I could just apply. I could just do this. So I pretty much just dove in head first. And I mean, I did a lot of research, YouTube University, Google University, all the things. And I just took what I told myself is like, I just need to take one step at a time, like one day at a time. So obviously we parted ways, and it's not like I built this successful business overnight, but I just started showing up and being like, okay, today I'm going to, pick a business name. Today I'm going to pick business colors, and kind of took it one day at a time till I got to the place where I was like, okay, now we launch and we just go for it. And I just kept showing up and being consistent. And yeah, now I'm at where I'm at today, and it's just been incredible.
So what did you end up launching? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so a virtual assistant business is what I ended up launching. So I launched as a virtual assistant and was speaking directly to 6 figure plus women business owners. That was who I decided my target audience was. I had, some experience. A lot of virtual assistants, though, even if you don't have technical, like I haven't been an assistant before, there's general tasks that anyone could do. So I'm a firm believer if anyone wants to be a virtual assistant, they totally can be. But I pretty much launched as a virtual assistant, ready to come alongside business owners to help them with any admin tasks that they had.
And so what sorry, I just got tongue tied for a second. But so where did you start though? Like, did you start with advertising on social media, or like what was your route? Because I know we
Yeah.
all have different routes, and so I'm curious what your route would be.
Yes, mine was fully Instagram. So I did all my marketing per se on Instagram, showing up on reels and stories and posts and talking about my business fully through Instagram.
So now let's switch gears just a little bit. Like from that business owner that you work with, or what are some of the tasks that you recommend the mompreneurs out there to start getting off? Like where from someone who's been running this whole thing by themselves, now they might be making enough to like start transitioning and having at least some help. Where do you suggest they start with that?
That's a great question. And I would say, honestly, if you think about the tasks that are taking the most time but not generating the most income. So, and then, I mean, as you excel, you can even delegate tasks that do. But a lot of times people have like, oh, I work with some influencers, and I don't know why I put air quotes around that, but
It's the word influencer has to have air quotes.
I know it does. I work with influencers. So that's a couple of my clients, and like they need to respond to their Instagram comments, but that's not generating traffic. So I like do their community engagement for them. I have other business owners, like product based businesses, who they need customer support. So I'm responding to their emails, helping people with their orders or refunds or those tasks. There's other businesses who they need me to write blog posts for them, or they need me to create like a landing page for something. So a lot of those like menial tasks, I'm obviously not like jumping on their stories for them and trying to sell their products. Like that's not what I'm doing. I'm like doing the behind the scenes where someone could just jump in and take that over. And it is hard though. I have still clients now who pay me good money who will be like, I don't know what I should get. Like I'm kind of scared to give this to you. And that makes complete sense because it's like your baby, like you've created this thing that is like so good, and it's hard to know that someone will come alongside you with the same care that you have for it. So I get that it's hard. So I think my number one recommendation would be like start with tasks that if they mess it up, it's not a big, like it's okay if the comment responded to that person wasn't great, or it's okay if there's a learning curve here. And then as you build trust with someone, then you can start to delegate them more. And that's a lot how I work with my clients too, is we jump in, they give me stuff as they see like, okay, she's doing a great job, they'll give me more, and that's how we work together.
So I'm trying to project a little bit for moms that might be considering being virtual assistants or stuff.
Mhm.
How many clients do you feel is like too much to take on for yourself? Or how do you delegate how much time one client gets versus another, or when emergencies come up? I mean, how does that fit into your day?
That's great. That's a great question. So for me now, I have, hired someone who can help me. But when I hit 5 to 6 clients myself, that's when I knew like, okay, I'm like booked out per se. I was booked out for a little bit till I figured out how to up level even like my systems within my business before I hired someone else. And then when I brought someone else on, was able to delegate as well. But it also depends, what you're paying your virtual assistant. So for me, like my top paying clients, the ones who are paying me the most, those are the ones who I do their tasks first, if that makes sense. So I'm always like taking care of them, and not every day. Some days they don't even have tasks for me, so then I'll just move on to the other clients. But I've pretty much set it up with my clients as in like, these are the days I'm doing this for you. That's how it helps me. Like I know these Tuesdays and Wednesdays I'm doing tasks for this client, this is what I'm doing. Mondays and Wednesdays I'm doing tasks for this client, this is what I'm doing. So trying to stay organized like that. But it definitely took some trial and error of days where I was like, I'm so overwhelmed. And just like communication is huge. I'm such a firm believer in like, you got to communicate with the clients. Please don't just not show up. Like I have multiple clients who their previous VA just like stopped talking to them, wasn't responding. And I'm like, your client would prefer, I'm sure you as a business owner, if I was your VA, you would prefer me message you and be like, hey, I am so overwhelmed today. Or I'm booked out. Can I do this tomorrow? Most of the time it's going to be yes. Thank you for communicating that with me. So that's something I love to establish and teach other virtual assistants. Like communication is so important, and they would prefer that over you rushing, doing a bad job, turning something in, and not being up to par.
So just to bring that in hone a little bit, can you just give the audience some wording of, like, you gave a little bit of wording, but like what can you actually say to someone like without feeling like you're just saying no to them, and like it's just like you're being rude or mean, like, but you still need to like really share that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, for example, I've had clients who, hey, I need this done. Can you do this? Blah, blah, blah. My number one question is always, hey, I absolutely can do that. When do you need it by? That's my first question. When do you need that done by? Because a lot of times it's not urgent, but because we are programmed to think everything is urgent, everyone's depending on me. Oh my gosh, if I don't do this, I'm getting fired. It's like an instinct, especially from like the employer employee culture that's programmed in you to think, I need to do this right now. Most times they'll come back and say, oh, if you could just have it done by Friday, or oh, and it's like Monday, oh, if you could just have that done, can you do it by tomorrow morning? And it becomes a conversation. So always my first question is, hey, well, when do you need this by? And then allow them to tell you. Now, if they're like, hey, end of the day, can you get this done by end of the day? And you really can't, that's where you simply are just honest. Hey, I'm actually booked out for the rest of the day with tasks I was previously assigned. Can I get this to you by whatever day you can confidently get it to them by?
I love that so much. And I think that's actually just a great question in general. I mean, even talking to your spouse or your kids at times too, because we do have that that culture of hecticness, like it has to be done right now. And sometimes we feel that way too. And I actually just had that thought of like, maybe I need to ask myself that question as well. When do I actually need this done? Even if I'm assigning it to someone else, like I might not need it today. And so why should I put the pressure of today on that task as well? It just, I guess, a whole mindset thing into it that you just made me think of as we were talking.
Yeah, that's so true. I do that too. Like there's laundry and I will pant. Like my husband's like, it's okay. I'm like, it needs to be done. But in reality, it's like everyone's gonna live if the laundry gets done tomorrow instead of today.
I think that's a perfect segue. We're going to go into a little break as I'm going to give you guys my little, if you want to figure out what your mama genius archetype is, take a look at this. Attention mompreneurs. Do you feel like you're constantly juggling the responsibilities without a moment to yourself? It's time to pause and reflect with our Mama Genius quiz. Tailored for busy mamas like you, this quiz will help you identify what's blocking your path and inspire you to harness your unique strengths. Transform how you manage life and business, find your rhythm, and ignite your joy. Visit mamageniushub.com today to discover your Mama Genius. And that's mamageniushub.com. Welcome back. And so if you want to get your figure out your mama archetype, go ahead and check that out. But we're here with Kaylin right now, and we're just going into that mindset of delegation. So I want to talk a little bit more about that, just that mindset, because it's so hard, as you were talking about earlier, just like whatever we do, it's like our creation of it. And even household chores, how do you even delegate that to your kids? Like, I always get a story of my little one who, like, I was like, "Can you wipe down the table?" Her way of wiping down the table was taking a rag and slapping it on the table. I was like, "No, not what I meant." And so it's that expectation that isn't necessarily, like, explained. And so how do you rectify that? That you've been giving some tidbits here and there, but I just wanna go a little bit deeper on how do we make sure that we communicate expectations between you and the client and make sure that they're met?
Yeah, that's great. So I think again, like open communication, it just reminded me of a story. It made me think of my mom, who is amazing. I love her, but she would always say, "Well, I can get it done better myself." And my dad would be like, "Why don't you ask the kids to do it?" Anyway, that's a whole just mindset that
It's
yes,
a
you
mama mindset, let me tell you.
mindset. You're right. It is. And I deal with that, but I find that like unless you bring someone in, they're not gonna know how to do it to that standard anyway, unless you allow like give them some room. So, but what I always do with clients when we like if I were to onboard a client right now and they were to say, okay, this is what I need you to do. Can you do it? Yes. We would jump on a call and they'll walk me through exactly how they want it done. So we take an hour and we go through all the tasks, especially so I can hear like, oh, if this happens, I would do this. Of course, doesn't mean I'm going to do it perfectly every time. No, it's not. But just, and I always communicate to them like, I'm very open to feedback. Like, I know I'm jumping into your business. So if there's something you want done a better way, please let me know. And they are always, they will let me know, like, hey, actually, can we do this moving forward? And there's no tension there. That's the other beautiful thing of I feel like a lot of times on both sides. So like as a virtual assistant, it can be like, "Oh my gosh, I messed up. Are they going to stop our contract?" No, like they just want you to do it better the next time. And then on the flip side, like me speaking to like my VA, if there was something she did I would have done differently, I just communicate that to her. Not like I'm being mean. It's like I want her to continue to do a good job and do it even better. So I'm communicating it the way that I want it so she can do it better. So I think it's just honestly a little mindset shift of why we're communicating it and what the outcome will be once it's communicated.
I love that so much. It is that shift in mindset, but I want to get a little bit more into practicality. You use the word onboarding. So I'd love to hear a little bit more details of what would an onboarding system look like for you, either from the client or for your VA or however you want to take that question.
Yeah. So when I onboard, let's say a client, it's actually the same for if I were to be like onboarding a VA for my business, we would jump on a discovery call. And then discovery call, we kind of go over like expectations. And this is where I like to dive into everything. Like, okay, what are the tasks you're needing? What's your budget? What are the expectations? Here are my work hours. What are your work hours? What's your preferred method of communication? And I think we get so like excited or nervous that a lot of times all these questions get missed. So, but the good thing is if they agree to move forward, then you have the onboarding call as a like a next step where if you miss anything, this is where you communicate everything else. And in the past, I have too. So if we jump on an onboarding call and say I'm onboarding you, like you're onboarding me as a VA, I would then we talk about okay, so what tasks are you wanting? What systems do you use? Like I would need some logins. We would exchange that information, and then again go over all the tasks you need. And then if you missed any of those questions before, like what's your preferred method of communication? What are your business hours? How do you want to be reached? Like that's where we would cover that. And then from there, after that, obviously I would get to work. And then the client moving forward, we also talk about on that call, okay, how do you want to do check-ins? Do you prefer monthly, weekly? What does that look like? I have some clients who are like, I don't ever want to do a check. Let's just text throughout the day when I need you. Like it's not, I don't want to do calls. And I have other clients who want to do weekly. I have other clients who want to do monthly. So just making sure you're in communication with your client or with your VA. I think that is what is going to set you up for success.
I think that's so true. Is the more that we get the words out of our heads, is a lot of times we're like we have a story in our head, and if we're like, oh well, this is what they're going to do, or this is what they think. But just like my daughter doing that at the table, when I said go wipe the table down, that never occurred to me that that's what she would do. And so if we don't paint those pictures for each other and actually have that conversation, it makes it harder. Now I was going down to more practicalities, because you used the word login. So I've been curious and I've been working out different ways, but what is the best way that you recommend to give logins to someone else?
So I love LastPass. I have some clients who use LastPass, and it's just like protected. It's a system where you can go in and you can create like all your logins for all your different platforms. And you technically don't even have to share it with the VA, because if the VA, you give the VA admin access, when the VA goes in, and you can block the passwords, and the VA, like, so for me, I would just click launch and it just launches me to the website without even showing me the password, which is, it's a way, if you feel like I want to, especially if you're new to like delegating, I think I would look into LastPass, because it's a great way to give that information without fully giving that information. But I do have other client. Go ahead. You're gonna say.
Well, no, I was gonna say, because I have been trying to use LastPass now. So you recommend giving them the access to the LastPass, not sharing it with them through LastPass?
Yes. So like what a couple of my clients is, they've added me as like their team or like an admin or something. So when I open their LastPass, I can see everything I need. Like, so, okay, I need to log into ConvertKit. So I can't actually view the password, although the password's in there. So it's like grayed out, but if I click launch, it will log me in and take me directly to their ConvertKit without me ever knowing the password, which again is like a great way if you have
Yeah.
some hesitations around, because I mean, it's like your personal information. So I totally get it. Then I have other clients who they just drop everything like on a Google Doc and they're like, here you
There you
go.
go.
And
Got
then,
it.
yeah, when we're on like the original call, I just make sure I get logged into everything, because a lot of times there's like two-factor identification or verification and all those things. So it depends on the client, but I have both sides. I have the LastPass clients, and then I have the Google Doc clients who are just like, here you go. So
I love that. Just seeing the different ways of how people do it. It's like, I feel like those are the little tidbits that like you just like until you know, you don't know.
yeah, yeah, totally.
And just getting those out. Well, we are starting to run out a little bit of out of time, so we're gonna go into our 5 questions right now. So I want to start with number 1. What podcast has helped you manage your busy life as either a mom or business owner, or what are you inspired by?
So honestly, I don't know if you know her, but Jenna Kutcher,
Oh,
her podcast, of course,
Gold
is
digger?
yes, Gold Digger is my go-to. And it's evolved over the years, right? Back in the day, I would listen to it strictly for business, but now because she's been at a place in her life where she's a mom and she's balancing like work and life and being a mom, there's so many episodes in there about, like work-life balance and like how she's transitioned to a 4-day work week, and really how becoming an entrepreneur needs to kind of shift away from the hustle culture at some point, right? Especially as moms. And I'm a firm believer of like, there's seasons for that. There's seasons to like, you have to go all in, but then there has to be a way to be able to kind of step out. And anyway, she does a great job of diving into those certain conversations, especially like the ones where she just talks by herself with no guests. She talks about therapy, she talks about being a mom, like all the things. And so I feel like it's been really helpful to see someone who's had success, like the behind the scenes of how they do it without losing their minds and without just like working 24/7.
No, I totally agree with that. She does a great job of doing that as well. So number 2 takes us into, what fun activity do you do with your family that helps bring joy and either helps keep you organized, or whatever activity that just you guys do together?
Yeah, so we get outside a lot. Our family gets out. We live in Redding, California, which is like beautiful outdoors. And I feel like a lot of times, even during the day, especially if it's like we've been in the house, we're busy with games and all the things, but there's certain days where we just feel like, oh my gosh, we need to go outside. And so we'll go on a hike. We live right by a lake. And so we just drive 5 minutes and we just take the kids out. We go in creeks, do trails. And that's something that we do a lot. And we try to do a lot, because also kids just like need to be outside. They need to get their
Yes,
energy out,
yes, they do.
the sunlight. And so that's something we cultivate into our daily lives often. Like every week you'll find us somewhere outside, because it just helps us.
Well, actually, let's reframe that. We all need to get outside, not just the
Yes,
kids.
true. That's true. Including me and my husband, we definitely need to get outside.
We forget ourselves all the time, but we need fresh air, we need sunshine, we need to change our moods as well. Which
Absolutely.
actually leads us into number 3, which we talk about the word busy a lot. I really had just have this passion of trying to like break that code of us using that word busy all the time. You say, how are you doing? I'm so busy, blah, blah, blah. And so I wonder if you have any ideas on how to reframe that? Because I just love hearing from other people's perspectives.
Such a great question. And yeah, I feel like I've sometimes fallen into the trap of like, I have so much to do. And again, it's like really, if I take a step back, I'm like, but doesn't need, like we talked about, doesn't need to be done today. I think the pressure of like, oh, I need to do this. So really for me, like what I've been doing in my days is my to-do list. I use Asana. So it's like that, I can write a to-do list electronically, and I'll, at the beginning of the day, I'll look at it and I'm like, look at my calendar. Okay, what needs to be done? And if it doesn't need to be done, I'm moving it to a different day and I'm not adding stress to myself. And the other thing that has helped me in the midst of busy is I'm always taking a break to go to the gym. I feel like even if I was like a walk outside, like I'm always taking a break in the midst of my busy, in the midst of my work, to take care of me and do something for me. Because I also know, like, when I go to the gym, not only does it help me in my business, but it gives me like a clear mind and it helps me show up for my kids better. So, and even if it's just like walk, like literally not even going inside the gym, walking around the gym, it's like a little country club place, whatever. That's where my husband works. But even just walking around for like 15 minutes, just getting
Mhm.
outside is like something that I do for me where it almost like interrupts my work day so that I can remind myself to slow down, be present, move my body. And that way I know I can show up the best for my kids, my husband, and my business.
Ironically, I have pickleball on the schedule for today.
I love that.
But but that also takes, like, the pressure off, like, "Okay, well, if I didn't do it in the morning, it's okay. I've already, like I
Yeah.
know I'm doing it tonight. It's already planned. The
Yeah.
weather is not very good. That's the only thing that's gonna stop it, but since it's outdoors now and I'm in Wisconsin." So number 4, I brought on this because especially as moms, we kind of stay away from this, but I wanna know what your definition of success is, and how do you actually celebrate when something goes great in your business or being a mom at home? Because I feel like there's the 2 parts to it is everyone's definition we think is one thing, but it's so different when I start asking the question.
Yeah, that's good. My definition of success is not like a monetary goal, although that helps. It's definitely like for me is like being able to feed my kids good food and like being able to take trips whenever we want. And like being able to take care of our dog if our dog needs to go to the vet, like having the money to do that. And so and a big one again is just being present, like being able to close my laptop if my kids want to play a board game. Like that's what success looks like to me is again like taking control of my schedule, almost like having the ability to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing and this is why, because I have the capability to do that because of the business I've built. And then celebrating, I think, is huge. I talk about this all the time, but I am such a firm believer in celebrating even like small milestones, because there's also something that happens when you like even and I've heard people teach like even if it's something small like doing laundry, like if you like physically give yourself a pat on the back or like jump around or something, it releases like endorphins that like makes you want to do it again. That's why I love the whole like checklist thing. Crossing something off a checklist or checking something on like Asana, like that actually releases something, an endorphin, where it's like, oh my gosh, I did this. So every time, like last night, every time I finish laundry, like, or do something like silly like that, I always tell my husband, like every time, I don't care if he's sick of it. I'm like, babe, I just crushed the laundry. And he's always,
Question.
yeah. And he's always like, yeah, you did. And so it's just like also having, good cheerleaders. But I always celebrate, even if it's the smallest thing of like just saying it out loud and like letting someone compliment you. Yeah, even small things, make going out for a nice dinner. If I hit a business milestone or like going to get my nails done, like I try to do things where it's like, yes, I'm going to pause, because I feel like we're always looking for the next thing. We're always like, because like we hit a small milestone. Oh, but I didn't hit this yet. Well, yeah, you're going to get there. Just pause, take a minute and celebrate. So then that's going to give you the motivation, energy to get to that next goal.
I love it so much, though. I want to throw one thing in there is how you're talking about the to-do list, and I just want to remind people I've mentioned a lot of time on here is also at the end of the day having a to-done list. And so you're really celebrating all the things that you've done throughout the day rather than worrying about what you didn't do. And like so everything you're checking off just goes on to that list of yes, I got this done today.
I
And
love that.
especially as a mom where we think we don't do anything, and then you start listening, well, I did the laundry, I got the kids there, I did this, and now I go start, oh, I did do a lot today.
Yeah, I'm going to
I
use
just don't give myself credit for any of it.
Yes, I love that so much. That's so good.
So our last question for you is how do you find what your kids are doing well and inspiring them to figure out their genius in life?
Yeah, that's so not as easy as you would think, but is what we're experiencing. But we try to like lean into it. So, like for example, I grew up playing softball and was like pretty good. I came from my two older brothers were baseball, so naturally we put our kids into t-ball and softball. And granted, my our daughter's done dance and gymnastics, so she's done all the things. But like for example, last summer our daughter was like, "Well, I really want to do dance again." And we're like, but you're playing softball. So it was like a hard, but we were like, okay. I told me and my husband had the conversation. I'm like, but what if she becomes like this famous dancer because she like really loves it? So we went and we put her in that dance class. Did it make our schedule harder? Yes. Was it more money? Yes. But we were like, if she wants to do it, we're going to lean into that. Even things like my son loves drawing and coloring. And so will he be an artist? I don't know. But right now he like loves it. So when he's doing that, I like love to encourage it. Like I want to paint. And I'm like, oh gosh, it's going to be messy. I got to get everything out. But just taking the time to be like, it's just like a moment of intentionality, like, okay, let me get that set up for you. And then let's pay. And so I think just like little things like that, like leaning in. And I don't believe that like every kid is going to be a Steve Harvey kid where they're going to know at 3 years old that they're going to be these amazing piano players for the rest of their life. But I just think it's important to kind of like lean into things and let them
Right.
figure it out. Yeah, but like lean in with them, like don't just be like, okay, yeah, go color, but like, okay, let's paint. Like, oh, what are you painting? And just like being intentional in those moments to stop, ask them questions, engage in that, whatever it is, maybe paying a little extra to put them in that extra dance class and things like that, where you get to like kind of figure it out with them.
I love that so much. Well, actually, I have two little side questions that came up. Just want to get some more practicality from you before we dive in. But so there's two things that I was thinking about. So you mentioned Asana, and so what do you find? What systems do you find that help organize you the best?
Definitely Asana is a big one for me. I feel like that's like my go-to, and a lot of my clients use Asana as well, so it's easy to kind of switch between. I also love Slack for client communication. That's a way to also not give your cell phone, but to have access to clients. Not that I'm opposed to that. I have clients who have my cell phone, but some people don't want to give their cell phone, and I totally understand that. So I do Slack a lot with my clients. And then honestly, I love Google Drive. I know that seems so simple, but it's just easy to create a folder and just share the whole thing, or create like a project and share the whole thing. So I feel like those are my three systems right now. Of course, there's a bunch out there, but Asana, Google Drive, and Slack is kind of what's like keeping me organized and keeping me and my clients organized as well.
So my last question for you is probably gonna be difficult because it's the one that we all are have find difficulty. But like pricing wise, like how, like you said, some of your top end clients pay this. Like, how do you negotiate or figure out what to charge people?
Yes, great question. So as I started, it was different. Now, because I have some experience, I have multiple clients. I have a minimum package that will start. So it's 1,500 a month, like retainer, that just starts with like general admin tasks. And then it just depends on the task. And I don't have it with me, but I have a breakdown that you have to spend time like crafting your prices. Like you want to make sure you know why you're charging what. But I have a breakdown of like, if they're asking for these admin tasks, it would fall in this, retainer per month. If it's these, so it's just depending really on like the specialty. I don't necessarily do social media, but there are some clients who need help with that. So that kind of gets calculated in the price for the tier of whatever package they're looking for.
I love that so much. So please tell everyone how they can get a hold of you or any final words you have for everyone.
Yeah. So my Instagram is, again, like I said, that's predominantly where I show up. I've tried TikTok. It's not my thing. So my
I don't even have
Instagram,
a TikTok account, to be honest.
it's the worst. I don't understand it. But my Instagram is at Kaelyn Marie, like my name here, Kaelyn Marie Virtual Assistant, the full word. I'm there most days, and on there you can find like links to my website and all the things. And I would just say, like, as a mompreneur, my last words would be, and this is like the best business advice I've ever got, is to just start. And I know it sounds so simple, but I think a lot of times we just get stuck in our head with all the, oh my gosh, well, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? And like I said at the beginning, just taking it one day at a time, doing one thing at a time. I really believe that you could do anything that you want to, as long as you tell yourself you can, and then you take the steps to do it.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on today and just giving us a different perspective of another way that moms can also work from home and do something for themselves. I thought that was such a vital aspect to this episode and why I have you had you come on today. So I just want to thank you, Kaelyn Marie, for coming on today. And we'll see you all next time. Before we wrap up, here are some key takeaways to remember. Number 1, embrace the freedom to design your lifestyle. Choosing when, how, and how much you work can help you achieve the rhythm you want between your professional and personal life. Number 2, effective delegation starts with identifying tasks that consume time but don't generate income. Focus on offloading these first to free up your schedule for more impactful activities. Number 3, communication is crucial in any delegation process. Always ask, when do you need this by? To set realistic expectations and manage your time effectively. Number 4, don't fear giving detailed instructions and feedback. Open, honest communication helps ensure that tasks are completed to your standards, whether delegating to a virtual assistant, family member, or employee. Number 5, understand that building trust takes time. Start by delegating smaller, less critical tasks and gradually assign more as confidence in their abilities grows. This approach helps ensure a smooth transition and maintains quality. Thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Mama Genius Hub podcast. If you found value in our conversation, please share this episode with another mama who might benefit. Sharing helps us build a supportive community and reach out to more mamas like you. After all, it's more fun when we do motherhood together. Until next time, stay motivated and continue to pursue your dreams as you shine in your genius. Bye, everyone.